A lot of those kids who could have still been alive.
It's back to school for students in the Uvalde school district.
More than 100 days since a shooting at Robb Elementary School killed 21 people. Gloria Pazmino is live in Uvalde with the latest.
And the school day here in Uvalde has now come to an end. We've been watching some people come over to this memorial here behind me to pay their respects and to talk about what they're feeling today, a day that usually brings a lot of anticipation, a lot of happiness to a community. But here in Uvalde, the first day of school is also marked by sadness and by grief and by some frustration from this community that's still looking for answers.
I can still hear the gunshots. It was very terrifying and traumatizing for me.
A somber back to school in Uvalde. More than 3 months since the shooting at Robb Elementary in Texas left 19 students and 2 teachers dead, children and staff in the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District returning to class Tuesday. A new school year unlike any other, marked by grief, heartache, but also hope.
I'm just nervous, that's it. So I'm just trying to do for his behalf and be there supporting him.
The Robb Elementary campus has shut down permanently since the attack. Former students now spread out at other nearby elementaries, while some have opted for virtual learning and others have left the school district completely.
Went and talked to my son and I told him, that they're going to have more cops, they're going to have higher fencing, and he wasn't having it.
Despite heightened security, safety precautions, and months of preparation, families who already lost one child in the massacre worry about sending another child back to school.
This is something that terrorizes you daily and nightly. I close my eyes, all I see is my son. I hear the gunshots.
And we've also heard from parents today who are trying to strike the balance between sending their children back to school and making sure that they're feeling safe, wanting them to go back to normal, wanting them to be able to cope with the reality of what they're living. 136 children have signed up for remote learning this school year. They will not be returning to school. In Uvalde, Texas, Gloria Pazmino, back to you.
New at noon, Hawaii Proud Boys leader Nick Oakes has agreed to a plea deal for his alleged involvement in the January 6th Capitol assault. Court documents say Oakes will plead guilty to obstructing an official proceeding. The maximum penalty for that charge is no more than 20 years in prison, but because Oakes has no criminal history, the document says he could be sentenced to a little over 4 years behind bars, plus a fine of at least $15,000. In exchange for his guilty plea, the other charges against him will be dismissed.
A Florida judge today denied a request from OnlyFans model Courtney Cliney's lawyer to limit the release of, quote, sexually explicit evidence to the public. You'll recall she was arrested on the Big Island last month. Cliney, who's 26, is charged with murdering her boyfriend in Miami. Today, she wore an orange prison scrub and a blue surgical mask as she looked on during the brief hearing in Miami-Dade County Court. Her attorney said that Cliney produced adult content on her phone for her OnlyFans page and asked for a protective order limiting the discovery that would be disclosed in the case. He said disseminating the material would deprive his client of a fair and impartial jury. Prosecutors countered that the defense team is trying to, quote, control the narrative with an overly broad request to seal evidence that hasn't even been processed yet. The judge denied the motion.
Based on argument presented during this hearing, based on the written pleadings, the legal authority, and the declarations respectfully, the motion for protective order and injunctive relief is denied.
Cliney, who goes by Courtney Taylor online, is slated to go to trial on December 19th.
The son of accused child murderer Lori Vallow has been arrested for sexual assault. Colby Ryan was taken into custody last week in Arizona. Investigators say the 26-year-old raped a woman, and the victim later recorded a conversation with Ryan in which he allegedly admitted to the crime. He's due in court on Friday. The trial of Lori Vallow and her husband Chad Daybell is scheduled to begin in January in Idaho.
A severe weather update on Super Typhoon Hinamnor. Here's the latest video coming into our newsroom. South Korea deployed Marines and mobilized amphibious vehicles to help with the search and rescue efforts there. The deadly storm left nearly 89,000 residents without power across the Korean peninsula as those heavy rains and damaging wind gusts up to 89 miles per hour as the storm made landfall hit the country. At least 6 deaths are being blamed on the storm. It's also making history as the 8th strongest typhoon to impact South Korea. The storm has now quickly lost intensity and is a tropical rainstorm as it's moved over to eastern Russia.
Take a look at this video from China. It shows intense shaking from yesterday's earthquake that killed at least 65 people in Sichuan province. Officials say more than 250 others were injured and at least a dozen people are missing. The quake was relatively shallow, happening just about 10 miles below the Earth's surface.
New at noon, Mayor Blanchiardi has unveiled a new program aimed at reducing crime in Waikiki.
If you go to the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, they will tell you the top 2 issues and concerns, true of talking to all the hotel operators as well, has to do with crime and homelessness. And we fully intend on dealing with both as aggressively as we can. This is not just the name of a program today. This is the beginning of a new era in taking back Waikiki.
The program's called Safe and Sound, and we're told it's similar to the Weed and Seed program in Chinatown. Here's how he described it.
This is a major priority for us. Waikiki is not a forgotten place. It's extremely important to the future of Oahu, our residents, and for all those people that come to this place expecting to have that magical vacation. We owe them that. We will deliver on that.
This comes as our partners over at Civil Beat found that aggravated assaults spiked over 40% in Waikiki this year.
Safe and Sound Waikiki is all about working together with all of the good folks here in Waikiki. First, to make Waikiki safe by reducing crime and making Waikiki sound by making it as healthy and strong as possible. It's about the prosecutor's office working with our partners with HPD, joining them. HPD is already doing a lot of great things in Waikiki. We're just here to work together and help them. And that includes things like the successful investigation and prosecution of that local resident who stabbed and killed the visitor just steps from here. He was convicted on Friday. He'll be in prison for life. It's about arresting and prosecuting the serial thieves that we have so many of in Waikiki that are driving the businesses crazy, spending so much time with HPD time. They're going to be charged with felonies using the habitual property offender statute. And it's about arresting and prosecuting those who sell drugs and use drugs and are tearing down the neighborhood. That includes the homeless who break the law. And we're going to try to help them get into residential mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment so they can not only be taken off the street, but will stay off the street.
Hawaii's red light cameras are late, but they're on the way. The state says the $2.2 million pilot project will begin next month, and they'll start with 10 cameras at busy Oahu intersections. You don't need to be driving to get a ticket, Dylan Anchetta explains.
In February 2019, a drunk driver fled police and ran a red light here at the intersection of Liliha and North Vineyard. He plowed into another vehicle, killing 32-year-old Brianne Lee. She was a mother of 6. The state is now hopeful red light cameras will cut down on reckless drivers at this and other intersections around Oahu.
My mom was like my number 1 fan, always supporting me. She was like my go-to person. She was my best friend. And now I don't have her.
While Dominique Kahala is still trying to forgive the driver who caused that crash, he's skeptical the state's plan to roll out red light cameras will reduce recklessness on the road.
It depends on the driver themselves, whether or not they take into consideration that there's a camera.
After some delays due to vandalism and malfunctioning equipment, the State Transportation Department says it now has enough data to move forward and select the 10 intersections where the cameras will go up. Some of the locations being considered include Likelike Highway and School Street, Vineyard Boulevard at Palama and Liliha, and 2 stoplights leading up to the Pali Highway.
This is something we at the Department of Transportation think that could reduce the cost of enforcement, increase the safety of enforcement, and make people think twice before they do something like run a red light.
Images of potential red light runners will be double screened before police determine whether to issue a citation. And remember this, the state says regardless of who is driving, the responsibility falls on the vehicle's registered owner. The first-time fine, up to $200.
So our goal here is not to make money or issue tickets. So if we put up the system and nobody runs a red light and we issue no citations, it'll be a success because that means people are following the traffic laws.
While the DOT hopes this will make roads safer, Kahala has his own message to drivers.
Based off your action, you're not the only one who suffers from it. And now there's 6 of us, 6 kids without a mom, me without a best friend and whatnot. It's not okay.
So we wanted to bring in Dylan to the H&N Digital Center to talk even more about this talker story for certain. Yeah, some great reporting there and an emotional aspect as well.
Yeah, right? Dylan, you mentioned delays in the program. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so the initial period that we just completed, the HDOT, was the data collection period. And earlier this year, there were 2 intersections where there was a lapse in collecting that data. One of them was at Like and School Street. The reason there was vandals, I'm told, went up and took the cameras off, and so the data collection period there's a window in that, and then also another intersection at Vineyard and Palama, possibly due to vandalism, but the equipment there was corrupt, and so this baseline data was really important. The HDOT had to wait to make sure the circumstances were still the same for all the collection points, and so they had to wait till it was back in school, and that's why there was some delays in rolling out this program.
All right, got a hypothetical for you. So an image is taken of a red light runner. No one in here. Wouldn't happen to us, right? Yes. So that image is taken. What happens next?
What happens next? That image, along with the data, is sent to a vendor processing center. And it's also important to note that these new cameras will be installed to be programmed with the traffic signals. So these cameras are going to know when the light turns yellow, when the light turns red. And once that image is captured, all of that data is sent toward the vendor processing center, who will do an initial screen and make sure that a violation actually occurred. And from there, they will match the DMV license plate information to the registered owner. And if they determine a violation occurred, they send that off to HPD, and HPD makes the final decision on whether or not to issue a citation. And after that, 10 days from the decision to issue the violation, it will appear in your mailbox.
Wow, got it. Very interesting. And, anytime we see this kind of program, proposed around the nation, there's always, the critics bring up privacy concerns. So
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this one definitely had some pushback. The HDOT acknowledges that some people were concerned. They say, oh, this is just another way for the government to spy on us. But the DOT says that is not the case here. And in fact, that's why this program will cite the registered owners. The cameras will essentially be fixed on the vehicle's license plate and not the driver. And so that's an easy way for authorities to just say, look, you're the registered name on this car. This is why you're responsible. And so that's who the ticket will go to. And so in all, the big takeaway here is to be very careful who you lend your car to.
Yep.
No
All right.
Casey Lunn driving our car.
Nope. All right, Dylan, I know you wrote up a long web story explaining all the information you just talked about. You can find it on your H&N digital platforms. You guys, why don't we go outside to Phoenix, Arizona? I believe that's Camelback Mountain.
Yep, sure is.
108 degrees out there as we take this live look outside over Phoenix right now. But what's our weather going to be like? Here's Guy Hoggy with an update.
We had a few downpours this morning, but say by this afternoon, it's going to be mostly dry again. And if we're lucky, we'll get a few more passing showers from time to time with the trade wind flow coming in. But keep in mind, the wind's going to stop. We're going to get light winds starting on Friday. So enjoy the trade winds today, tomorrow, and to some extent Thursday. But starting Thursday, the winds will start to drop off. And that means it's going to be quite comfortable, although it's going to be plenty warm with all the sunshine. And then we'll get lighter winds, higher humidity levels starting on Friday. And those variable winds will also encourage some spotty showers forming late in the day around the mountains, maybe even some spotty downpours, but again, they won't be widespread.
A wildlife protection watchdog group says lobster and some other fishing is not sustainable right now and that lobster on menus should be avoided. Now, the goal is not to protect the lobster, but the heavily endangered right whale species. Ben Tracy has more.
In New England, a long holiday weekend pairs well with lobster rolls. But now the billion-dollar lobster industry is reeling from essentially being blacklisted.
New England is lobster. I mean, there's no question about that. It would have a huge, huge detrimental effect on this area.
Fred Penny has been catching lobster off the coast of Massachusetts for more than 50 years. He's angry that 14 fisheries are now labeled red by Seafood Watch, a widely respected world leader in seafood rankings, meaning consumers and businesses are being advised to avoid them. Besides lobster, this includes all East Coast snow crab and several species of flounder and Atlantic cod. The designation doesn't actually ban eating or selling the fish, but can lead restaurants and grocery stores to drop them from menus or label them unsustainable.
If the restaurants put up a sign that say don't eat lobsters, people are not going to come in and eat lobsters. That's my concern.
The problem isn't the fish, it's the fishing gear. Seafood Watch and government agencies say vertical lines and ropes are a leading cause of injury and death for the critically endangered North Atlantic right whale. Its population has shrunk by 30% in just the past decade, and there are now fewer than 340 of them alive.
No one wants to know that their appetite for seafood is driving a species to extinction. So what Seafood Watch is doing is putting a flag in the ground right now and saying, there's an important issue, let's pay attention.
Jennifer Kemmerly with Seafood Watch says if an industry changes its fishing practices, it can find a way off this list. But the New England lobster industry is already being battered by climate change. Last year we visited the Gulf of Maine, which is warming faster than 99% of the Earth's oceans. Warming water is causing some fish species, including lobster, to migrate north.
My primary fishery is lobster.
We met lobsterman Steve Train, who has started to also farm kelp, otherwise known as seaweed, because the lobster catch is increasingly unpredictable.
I mean, does this feel like a lifeline?
And right now we're heavily dependent on one resource. So if there is a turn in the fishery, there needs to be something else.
Especially now that the lobster industry is rated red. Ben Tracy, CBS News.
Southwest Airlines is taking more space this week at Honolulu's airport as it goes up 38 daily inter-island runs to 60. Southwest is using its Trans-Pacific fleet for island hoppers. Starting tomorrow, existing Southwest check-ins at Lobby 7 will be for West Coast departures only, while inter-island departures will be down the hall in Lobby 6. The cruise industry, it's recovering from the pandemic. It's even rolling out a couple of new ships this year. Wendy Gillette is standing by with a preview and an inside look.
Another great celebrity cruise.
Chuck McKay is sailing to the Greek islands with his wife and friends aboard Celebrity Beyond. The new ship launched in the spring, enticing travelers with a 2-story sun deck, expanded rooftop garden, and French chef Danielle Baloud's first restaurant at sea.
I am very excited to be on here because we're able to see all the new stuff that's just been added to the ship.
This week, Celebrity and other lines loosened their COVID protocols, no longer requiring vaccinated passengers to test before most cruises, and allowing unvaccinated passengers who must test before boarding.
It's time to transition into the next phase, and that's what the world is doing, and that's what we're finally doing.
Companies hemorrhaged tens of billions of dollars during the pandemic. And now industry trade groups see the tide shifting. Cruise Lines International Association predicts passenger numbers will exceed pre-pandemic levels next year.
Future is bright, industry is growing, guests are coming back, so we're all very happy.
Disney added its 5th and largest ship, Disney Wish, to the fleet this summer. And the biggest ship in the world, Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas, began sailing in March.
They continue to innovate, and with that they shape different experience for different travelers.
There's also this new ship sailing out of Miami, the Seashore, from MSC Cruises, a line that's better known in Europe than the U.S.
We have 140,000 square feet of outdoor space. This is enormous, and I think it's one of the biggest at sea.
We got a reduced rate to sail aboard Beyond and the family-friendly Seashore, which boasts a water slide, infinity pool, and specialty restaurants. The line will launch 2 more ships later this year as it steams ahead. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
Wendy, getting those tough assignments there.
I tell you, what a life.
Yep. All right. Got to get to some cute video, guys. The internet's talking about it. Let's check it out. The amazing Acrocats performed in Virginia over the weekend, and check out their skills right here. It's a variety show of all sorts of tricks and flips. The feline circus is made up of former rescue cats who shredded on skateboards and soared through hoops and pawed musical instruments, including a cowbell. So this is going to play out an interview with the trainer about how important this is, training cats, and how easy it is.
The show is part of Rock Cats Rescue, so we spread the word of clicker training with cats, because a lot of people don't realize that you can train cats, and not only can you train cats, but you should train your cat, because a lot of behavioral problems stem from boredom. So if you give your cat a job, it'll actually help relieve that boredom, and it'll help you bond with your cat.
She doesn't seem like a cat person at all. Not at all.
The cat on the cowbell's like, give me the treat, lady.
Yeah, I know. Clicker treat. Most cats I know would not be down for most training this at all. Like
Dracula would not be down for training.
No. Not gonna happen. But very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute. All right, summer is truly winding down, and that means summer movies are over, and some horror movie flicks are moving into the silver screen. It's good news, and if you like scary movies, here's Rick Damigella with more on that.
Wow. Andrew Collins. You go by Drew, right? Welcome home. I've been designed and programmed to cater to your every need.
Sure, but is Margot the Smart House following Asimov's 3 laws of robotics? Of course not, because then there wouldn't be a horror movie plot featuring a group of young people, a vacation rental, and a not-so-helpful AI. Viewers can check into Margot via digital September 9th.
I want to be loved from as many people as possible. But truth is, I'm not really a good person.
Pearl is the prequel to X, a horror yarn which came out earlier this year. Mia Goth reprises her role in the origin tale of that film's villain. Pearl hits movie screens September 16th.
I'm seeing something no one else can see except for me. It's smiling at me.
The trend of horror movies with a single word as the title continues with Smile, as a doctor begins experiencing strange occurrences following a frightening interaction with a patient. Smile creeps into theaters September 30th.
For the last year, 4 friends have kept a secret.
Are you on drugs? No.
And for a bit of horror nostalgia, the 25th anniversary of I Know What You Did Last Summer is being celebrated with a 4K Ultra HD release on September 27th. The new edition features deleted scenes and an alternate ending to the teen horror tale. Watching with the lights on in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
All right, those just look silly.
Yeah, I won't be seeing any of those.
No.
I do remember when the whole I Know What You Did Last Summer
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
phenomenon came out, though.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
That's right.
Yep. Ryan Felipe, I think,
Yep.
was in it as well.
Yep.
I just saw Nope not too long ago as a new horror movie. It was okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's more sci-fi than scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. You can tell we're big movie buffs here. That's going to do it for This Is Now. Ashley's back first at 4 on KHNL, so don't want to miss all the news updates coming in from throughout the afternoon. Of course, read more about that red light camera. A lot of people talking about those coming in. That's on your H&N digital platforms right now. Also expecting a news conference about those checks that we're going to be getting from the state, tax rebates, coming up at 1 p.m. with Governor Ige. Bye-bye.